chess friends. Mike Koplitz here with you, coming from the chess room. That didn't help. Here in York, Pennsylvania, I am part of the Royal Rooks Scholastic Chess Club, which we also have open to any adults that like to come by and play some games and work with some of the kids. We meet at the Dover Library right now, Mondays at 5 p.m. I'll take a little break for the summer and then we'll be back. I like to put some games on now and then. This happens to be one that I did win. I do put losses on there too because we learn from our losses, but I think it's a fun game to look at. It was played against my good friend Sam Lamonto, and we've been playing chess against each other for quite some time, actually. And whenever we get together to play, it's usually a pretty good bloodbath. Sam knows I'm going to play aggressively. I know he's going to play aggressively. So there's always a lot of fun doing this. Over the last few months, I've been trying to find a new opening that Sam is not as aware of. So when he plays d4, I play d5, which is the beginning of the England Gambit. There's only like one or two books out there, and right now on the marketplace even find this. Sam decides to play the England Gambit declined, and of course this is one way to do it. I think it's weak. I think you do need to take the gambit or move the pawn forward. See, I could put some lines on here for you. One thing to do is to go and move the pawn forward. I think when you try to refute the gambit, you can get into some trouble. But this does refute the gambit. So I exchange. Now, I don't know why Sam decided to bring his queen out. Maybe he'll answer us in the bottom comments. Sam, if you have a chance, you want to say why you brought your queen out. Because one of the rules we teach the kids is don't bring your queen out early, because you can kick it around and gain a tempo, which of course is what I do here. He then brings the queen back to d3. The problem with d3, to get my fingers on the right key, is of course it blocks this bishop coming out. So we continue on. I go to d5. Of course, d5 is a great move. All my students will tell you that, because now my bishops can get out pretty freely. Of course, moving to d5, I pretty much own the center at this point. It's also going to make it a little bit more difficult to do e4, even though I think Sam could easily do e4 in this position. I think that would have been kind of interesting to see what would have happened at that point. He elects to develop. Of course, we got to get developed. Bishop g5, good pin. Again, I know a lot of students are watching these videos. Good pin. And this is a good place to put the bishop as black. Of course, c5 also would have been a good place to put it. To this square, because from here it's going to look down at the f7 diagonal, but I wanted to break the pin, and it's a fine move. Continue a little development, and of course, getting castle, people, most important thing to do at the beginning, and you're going to see that in this game. Sam elects e3. Of course, he's trying to get this bishop freed. Unfortunately, the queen is sort of in the way. Well, I continue my development. I've got to get my bishop out. He's going to go bishop e2. Again, this is all normal development. Then I went to a6. Now, be real honest, I'm looking at it thinking, why would I go to a6? The only thing that comes to mind is, let me go back one. What would happen if he brought his queen out to here? That That would put some pressure down here on this particular pawn. And then if I move this pawn forward, the knight here would have become weak. I'm not sure he would have moved his queen, but I wasn't going to let it happen. Knight to d4. I think here is where Sam should have done his castling instead of trying to mount an attack in the center, because I'm pretty close to developed and he's still in the center. Well, I'm just going to take the knight off. It's just easier. And this is an interesting move. I think this is a bit of an error on his part, because this file gets open. Of course, when you look at it, and when he made that move, I went, ooh, the e file's open. I got a place to stick a rook. There are 3 pieces in the way, so it's not like I'm going to get to his king immediately. So let's see what he does. I move my queen to d7. Again, finish in development. It's going to let this bishop start to do some work. I get this rook. Let me mark this. The bishop can go out. This rook could even come over. And then Sam brings his other knight over to f3. Again, not saying that's a horrible move, because it's not. It's actually not a bad move, because it does protect the bishop. Problem is, he's still in the center. And at this point, it's now up to black to punish white for staying in the center. First thing you got to do is you got to evacuate the e file. So bishop to f5, that's going to help evacuate. He does knight to e5. I think that's a very nice move, because he's eyeing up this bishop, whether you can see it or not. Knight takes queen. If I do knight takes knight, then his bishop will come down and take. So he's seeing a potentially vulnerable piece right there. And because of that, let's see, I went queen to e6. It also allows me to, again, shoot down this e file if it happens to open up. I am a little concerned about this bishop here. I'll mark him in red, because that bishop may end up in trouble, need protection. He then went queen to g3, and I applaud him for this in one respect. Again, he's looking for the attack. He's obviously, he's threatening bishop over, and that would be bad. The problem is, he's still, here he is, still in the center. Knight to e4 is going to knock the queen out of the way. It also opens up this bishop. Now what's happening, as you can see, I'm attacking this bishop. I'm also attacking the queen. His next move is queen to e3. And I think this is just a mistake on his part. And here's where we're going to put in an annotation. And I'm marking this with a question mark as a blunder, because it's going to get dangerous for him out there. Too many things are getting lined up. So I take. I should go back and note that. That's a free piece, by the way. That's why I put a blunder on it. Sorry about that. I just realized, oops, wait a minute, I forgot to mention. Free piece, because the knight is protecting the bishop. I think he forgot about that. f4. Again, not a bad move, except that his king is sitting here, again, in the center. So now we're going to start, we're going to start doing a few things. I figured I might as well check him, because he's got to move the pawn up unless he wants to give up castling rights. His king side is pretty darn weak. His queen side is pretty darn weak. You'll notice these diagonals are completely open. He's going to have a tough time dealing with that. I do have a bishop pair. His pawns are sitting on black squares. Of course, I got to retreat the bishop. He then starts a pawn storm, which at first kind of made me think, because he's going after this bishop. Now let me show you. If I move the bishop backward, put it in as a variant, then he wins the piece back because he's going to fork me. He's going to give up 2 pawns for it. But one of the things I don't like to do, and in fact makes me very nervous, is opening up these lines, because now he'll be able to hit my king, put his rooks on the G and the F file, and that's not really good for me. Okay, now the other thing is, by moving to G4, he allows me to check his king. Finally get to punish him for not moving out of the center and castling. Doesn't have a whole lot of places he can go to. And then I noticed this. Might as well start the invasion. Take the risk, start the invasion. Queen has to go to H3. I'm still looking at losing this bishop, folks. This bishop's going to go because he's going to get a pawn fork here. Like, okay, I'll retreat. F5. Queen to G6. I'm sorry, Queen to F6. He does the fork, which is very nice. He's going to get some material back. I'm going to move my queen to G5. But now, all of a sudden, what I'm looking at is, and I must admit to you, Sam, if you're listening, I missed this fork. I missed that fork. I wasn't worried about it yet, but I missed it. I care about this. And he decides to take the free piece. And I do think that's a mistake, because it's going to open up, it's definitely going to open up this file. So back here, I probably should give myself, that wasn't the best move I maybe could have made. So let's give me a question mark. And I think this move, sorry to say it, Sam, I think this one needs a question mark on it. Because I now have what I've been waiting for. I got the open file, and I've got a rook on it. And he's going to take, and I don't blame him, take. He's up material, right? He went from down a piece to up in exchange, but I was okay with that. I was really okay with that, because I really, really wanted this. I mean, I'm threatening a discovered check here. Lots of potential ugliness. Bishop to F3 is a nice way to get around it, but the rook is still eyeing the king. Well, might as well put the pin in place. At this point, he's in trouble, because I'm using another concept, and that's called the Tarrasch principle. And that's because these two rooks, once the computer wakes back up, this rook and that rook are out of the game. They have nothing to do with the game. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces attacking a king that's defended by 2 pieces. Black is definitely better here. Knight to D2, that's threatening now, of course, this bishop. It's being attacked by the knight. Whoops. By the knight. See if I get rid of that line. And that one's too long. There. Bishop to D5 check. He probably at this point determined he was going to lose the bishop anyway. Let's go back and take a look at a couple of possibilities. Let's say he does, just to see what would happen. Knight to e2 would require almost instantly this response, and mate can't be very far behind this. I think it actually is, because the king's got to come over. We get another discovered, and that's a checkmate, actually. No, that's not a checkmate, but he's going to drop the queen. You can see the checkmate's not far behind. Okay, let's go back. Of course, bishop to d1, that doesn't do a whole lot for him, because again, let's see, we might come down here. I don't think he'll last very long here in this situation. Or even better, let's bring that back. The knight can check here, and that's checkmate. So you didn't have a whole lot of choices, so he took. But then what it does for me, of course, when I take back, is now I've got this diagonal. So I've now got two diagonals. Show you the diagonals. And I've got this file. And I've got a knight sitting there. King to g3. I don't even think I thought about this move very much, and maybe I should have. But I don't think it's any better move than queen to f3 for the check. And then, of course, is where he resigns. Because at this point, the only move that he has is to bring the king forward. And then, of course, that's mate there. It was a fun game of attacking, retreating, defending. I think Sam did a great attempt at attacking in the counterplay. What we ended up doing is we were attacking pretty much on the same flank, but I had control of the e-file. He never got castled, and I think that's what caused the problem here. Thanks, Sam, for this wonderful game. It's a very instructive game, and again, please put comments in on the YouTube. All right, take care, chess friends. Happy chess.